Beautiful jellyfish, it's Tracy. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to hang out with me. I really appreciate it. And in today's video, we're going to be doing my Zegana deck tech. This is an updated one. I've done one other versions of this in 2019, I believe. And I like to film deck techs every 2 years or so. Sometimes I do it before, sometimes it takes longer, it just kind of depends, but I had a lot of requests actually to do an updated version because I've been talking about this deck recently and I'm saying how Zegana is my commander and people were like, wow, I'm surprised you don't have this as your commander or whatever. And to be honest with you guys, I really love having Zegana as the commander. And just to chat a little bit about her, I think she's very reasonably, mana, like 4 mana, I think for her is really good. When she enters the battlefield, if you control another creature with a +1/+1 counter on it, you get to draw a card, which is great. I actually really love having that ability, and I think a lot of people are like, oh, that's kind of whatever, but it's actually really strong. For 6 mana, you can adapt 4, which does sound like a lot of mana, but keep in mind my CMC in this deck is extremely low. A lot of Merfolk tend to be on the cheaper side, so my CMC is very low in this deck, which is great. And each creature with a +1/+1 counter you control on it has trample, so I think it has like 3 different aspects of it that make this card really strong. Drawing cards, you get to adapt 4 to make her bigger, so she can become an 8/8, which is great. Kill people with commander damage if that's the name of the game you want to play. And everything that has a +1/+1 counter on it gets trample, which is great. So this is a sub +1/+1 counter theme deck. It's not the whole deck. Not every card does it, but a solid amount of the cards do it, and they do have the synergy there. So yeah, let's just jump into it. Let's start talking about lands. Very basic. We have 5 forests, which is crazy that it's only 5. To be honest with you, I think I'm gonna up that a little bit just so I have more. And then I have 10 islands. I almost said 15. But I have 10 islands. And then let's talk about specialty lands. Oh, I also run 35 lands. That's the sweet spot. That's where I stick it. That's where I usually that's what I usually stick to. The first card I have is Alchemist's Refuge, which I love. I love being able to cast things when I should not be able to cast things. That's one of my favorite things to do, and Alchemist's Refuge is a card that gets me there. I love this card so much. The next card is Ash Barrens because I do like cycling Mist in order to filter some lands. The next card I have is Botanical Sanctum. This is one of the, I don't remember the names of one of these lands, but enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or fewer lands. I like it because it gives me my colors, and I am pretty sensitive in this deck, even though I am only 2 mana. I'm sorry, 2 mana. Even though I'm only 2 colors, I have a lot of stuff that's very sensitive. It needs very specific mana, so this is one of the cards that helps with that. Breeding Pool, standard shock land. Gotta have those. I then have a Cavern of Souls, which is really, really, really important in this deck because not only does it give me the mana to cast Merfolk, like obviously you name Merfolk with this, but it makes it so they can't be countered, which is great against people who are playing blue. So, great card. I also have Command Tower, pretty basic. I'm going to talk about Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse together because they are literally just the same thing. Yeah, these cards are really standard. I like them. I like that they, filter and, you get to shuffle your deck and do that. So, cards are great. Also, this is my favorite art, the Dark Ascension art. Not a lot of people know about this art, but it's great. I also run Ghost Critter, which is my only... Yeah, it's my only land destruction. I do like to run a card or 2 in all my decks, just as like a... like extra thing just to do, I then run Karn's Bastion, which I don't know if a lot of people know about this card. It is kind of a lot of mana, but again, keeping in mind my CMC is pretty low, I'm likely able to cast something and also proliferate, and do that pretty reasonably. So getting this off is not a problem. So this card's great. I then run Misty Rainforest, which is incredibly exciting, and I'm really glad that I have this card in the deck because I previously did not, so that is great. I then run Mosswort Bridge, which, to be honest with you guys, I think I might take this card out. Not that I don't think this card is strong. I think not that this card is bad. I'm not 100% sure. I just think there's something else that I could run in place of this. Not 100% sure, but this might come out in the future. I also run a Mutavault simply because this card is any type, so it can be Merfolk and then it can get all my buffs that I have and become big. I then have this card. I don't know exactly how to say this card. No Vigen, Heart of Progress. I don't know how to say that, but this card is incredibly good in Pulse and Pulse Encounter themed decks. It does say enter the battlefield this turn, so you do have to save mana to do it. So again, you can very easily play something and then do this and get a Pulse and Pulse Encounter on it, which is great. I then run Path of Ancestry, which I really enjoy this card. It does add any mana into your pool, which it's going to be either green or blue because that is your commander's identity. So this card is essentially just like a command tower that taps for any color that your commander produces or commander is, which is great. And you do get to scry 1, which is awesome. I love this card. I then have Reliquary Tower. We don't have a ton of card draw in this deck, which I know might sound surprising, but I do want to make sure that I can have this card out just in case I do have a ton of cards in my hand. Then I run Temple of Mystery because I like to scry. And I'm going to get a lot of flack for this card. I actually forgot that this card was in this deck, Temple of the False God. I'm going to take this out and I'm going to replace it with a a forest. I don't think this card is incredibly strong. Back in my beginning of Commander days, I really loved this card, but I think it's kind of whatever, so. Then I run an Unclaimed Territory, which I really, really, really like this card. You obviously choose Merfolk. It's great for tribal decks. And the last land I run is Waterlogged Grove, the Horizon Canopy Cash lands, which I love. So, okay, let's just not waste any time at all. Let's just jump into it and start talking about enchantments. The first one I run is Deep Root Waters. I like this card. I think it's cool. It's just cute. You know, it's a cute card. I like it. You play a Merfolk and you get a 1/1. It's just kind of this, like, really fun little thing. And not only that, but the Merfolk has hexproof, which I think is great. I don't have like a ton of token synergy. This might be one of the only cards that gives me that, but I like this card and this art is stunning. The next card I run is Doubling Season because, I mean, if I have both of these on the field, I do get double tokens, which is cool, but the main thing is the Pulse and Pulse Encounters, which is what we're doing. Gotta have Doubling Season in this deck. The next card I run is Guardian Project, and I love this card. I think Guardian Project is such a strong card, and I feel like it's just a perfect green card. Gets you to draw cards, and in Commander, this is perfect because you always get to draw cards, which is great. The next card I run is Hadana's Climb. This card's really interesting. So it says at the beginning of combat, you put a Pulse and Pulse Encounter on a creature you control. Then if that creature, so keep in mind you can spread this out if let's just say you don't want to flip it, but if you do want to flip it and you want to pump your one dude, if it has 3 things, you add 1 mana of any color to your pool, or this is the main ticket here, is target creature you control gets flying and gets +X/+X, where X is its power. So you can make something super big. This is a really good card to do with Zegana, but I like it because it gets Pulse and Pulse Encounters on it, so you can go wide, you can give your whole team Pulse and Pulse Encounters, and then start to work on those. You know, you can do it in whatever way you want, but card is great. Then I run a Kindred Discovery, which I love. You obviously choose Merfolk, and then whenever a creature of that chosen type ETBs, you get to draw a card. What's really cool is it does synergize with this card as well. You know, a Merfolk enters and you get to draw a card, which is great. So I love this card. This card's very good. I run a very classic Merfolk card, which is Marrow Commerce, only ever been printed in Lorwyn, and this card's amazing. At the end of your turn, you get to untap all Merfolk you control, which is super good. And the last card I run is Simic Ascendancy. I have never personally gotten off the combo on this, but you do get to put possible counters on stuff. And yeah, you put growth counters on this. So even ignoring that last ability, honestly, just the fact that you get to put possible counters on stuff is great. You don't tap it, so you can use it as many times as you want, which is great. Okay, let's talk about artifacts. I feel like it would have made more sense to certain artifacts, but it's fine. The first card I have is Arcane Signet. Mana Rock, gotta have it. A lot of these are going to fly through quickly because they're Mana Rocks. There's not really a whole lot to say. Commander Sphere gets me mana and it draws me a card for cashing in. Mind Stone, very similar to Commander Sphere, but it does add colorless, and it draws me a card. I run Moss Diamond, and I also run Sky Diamond, which I shockingly don't have these in foil, which I should pick these up because they're very good and I like these cards a lot. So, gotta have my mana. Then I run Perilous Vault, which is my favorite artifact and my favorite board wipe. I love this card. I run this card in all my decks, and it's just incredibly strong. I love the fact that it says Exile, and I am playing blue and green, which I don't have any like classic board wipes, so this is like one thing that I can run. I then run Simic Signet, which I love this card. I love the signets. I run them in all my decks. Soul Ring. I run Staff of Nin, aka Staff of Win. This is a card that might come out, and not because I don't love this card, but I think it's like a little bit higher on the CMC cost, which I don't think is a really big problem, but I think there's something else that I could run in place of this, like some other draw thing. Not 100% sure on that, but I do enjoy this card. It's no shade. I love this card. I just might take that out and put it for something. I run Swiftfoot Boots. I actually don't have a the other equivalent to Swiftfoot Boots that I forget the name of, but I don't have that in this deck. I think Lightning Greaves. I actually think it's because I don't own another one, but I should get that in this deck, and because those are good to have together. I then have Thought Vessel, which is great. I love that card. And the last artifact I have is Worn Power Stone, which this potentially might come out for something that gives me more colored mana rather than colors, but in the meantime it's here, and I do like that card a lot. Okay, let's talk about sorceries. So again, I'm going to run through this pretty quickly because a lot of these are mana acceleration, which there's not a whole lot to say. I have Kodama's Reach and I have Cultivate. Of course, gotta have these for my basics to fetch those out of my deck. Then I have Curse of the Swine, which is one of our like removal spells in the deck, which is really great. Exile creatures, you give them pigs, but to be honest with you, or sorry, boars, but to be honest with you, you don't really care, because whatever it is that you're, those 2/2s are significantly worse than whatever, your opponent had. I then run Fade into Antiquity. I love this card. I run this card in all my green decks. Very underutilized card. It's great. It's a couple cents. Pick it up. Card's awesome. The next card I run is Ponder. Of course, love this card. I then run Rampant Growth. Very basic. Next I run is Rite of Replication, which is really good. One of my favorite things to do with this card is to, there's no infinite combos or anything like that, but it's to target a card like this and give all your merfolk +1/+1, but if you make 5 of those, all of a sudden all your stuff gets +6/+6, which is super fun. So this deck is like very fair, This deck is like a very fair, like reasonable, like this is also one of the most high CMC stuff in the deck, which is fine. And I also run Treasure Cruise, which gotta have this card. I love this card. And the last sorcery I run is Triumph of the Hordes, which I absolutely love this card, and I have killed people with this card, and it is incredibly satisfying, and there's nothing quite like it, so. Okay, let's jump into instants, starting things off with a Beast Within. I like Beast Within a lot because it's very targeted removal, and you can target anything with it, which is great, any permanent that you find problematic that you can't otherwise deal with. So this is a very, what's the opposite of narrow? Wide removal spell, I guess? So, great card. The next card I run is Blue Sun Zenith because, as you know, or if you don't know, my favorite thing to do in Magic is draw cards, and Blue Sun Zenith gets me there. Love that card. Brainstorm, pretty standard. Love this card. The next card I have is Counterspell Classic. I really like this card. I do have a couple of counterspells in here that we'll talk about in just a second. Actually, you know what? Let's just talk about them all together because there's only a couple of them. I run Disdainful Stroke, which I really like this card a lot. It is 4 greater, but it is anything. It's not only creature or anything. And then I run Dissolve. So yeah, these are my counterspells. Nothing super crazy here. But I do like what this card you get to scry, and this art is extremely pretty. Okay, I run Cyclonic Rift. Just gotta do it. If you're playing blue, gotta have it. Love this card. I also run Dig Through Time. Pretty basic. Opt. This card's great. I run Pugnify and Rapid Hybridization. I love these cards so much. I think these cards are so incredibly important in this deck. You have your targeted removal, it's instant speed, super great. And the last card I run is Reality Shift for that targeted removal, and it exiles, which is great. So that is it for that. And now let's jump into, the base of the deck, which is the creatures, which I shockingly only run 24 creatures, which actually sounds very few for me. I feel like I normally am like a 30 creature kind of gal, minimum. But this deck just has a lot of instant sorceries and other things. The first card is Cold-Eyed Selkie. This card is a house. Even getting this card to literally 2, 3, 4 to draw that many cards is like, even having this card at 2, you still get to draw 2 cards every time they deal combat damage. It's also got Island Walk, which is great. So you can get by. This card is just so good, and I love it. What I run is Deep Root Elite, and I like this card a lot. It's a really good like supporting card. It buffs the rest of your team, which is really cool. Another Merfolk enters the battlefield. You get to put a +1 counter on target Merfolk, so you can make this bigger, you can make Zegana bigger, you can make any of your stuff bigger, which is great. I like it. The next card I run is Follow Sage, and I feel like this card is, like, I originally didn't have this in the list, and then I was like, this card is just really strong because you can just tap it to attack and you get to draw a card, and yeah, this card is really good. I like it. The next card I run is Forerunner of the Herald, and this is a Merfolk tutor, but in addition to that, whenever a Merfolk enters the battlefield, you put a +1/+1 counter on this, which is great. I like it because it not only tutors, but it also makes him bigger, which is great. I run is Herald of Secret Streams, which is one of the best cards in this deck, hands down. This is honestly the reason why I wanted to run the +1/+1 counter theme, because you could easily build Merfolk and not do that. But to be honest with you guys, I really just wanted to run this card because this card is so incredibly strong. You get +1/+1 counters on your team, and they can't be blocked. Gosh, this is just amazing. Love that card. The next card I run is Kiora's Follower. This card works really well with this card. You know, you attack, you tap it, and then you can untap this, which is really cool. But Kiora's Follower is also just a really great card to untap your other stuff, your lands, your creatures, whatever. You can use it at instant speed, which is great. So, great card. This is one of the few cards, too. I will not get this card in foil because this art is literally everything. Merfolk art is seriously some of the most beautiful in the game. The next card I run is Kupala. I'm not sure how to say that. Warden of Waves. This is a really cool, like, little death and taxes-y type card. I like it. It makes your opponents pay a little bit more mana if they want to target your stuff, which I just think is really cool. So I like it. I have quite a handful of buff Merfolk that do very similar things, so I'm going to talk about those together. I have Lord of Atlantis, Master of the Pearl Trident, which I actually need to get this card in foil. I have Merfolk Mistbinder, Merfolk Sovereign, Marrow Regery, if I said that correctly, and I believe, yep, and that is it. So these are my 5, like, core main creatures, right? These things that buff. They're all basically like the same thing. They all have the buff effect, but then they obviously have their own intricacies. So this one gives them Island Walk and +1/+1, which is great. We love that. Master of the Pearl Trident is literally the same thing. Literally the same thing. They also give Island Walk as well. So gotta have both of those cards. Classic. This card is just very standard. It's a 2/2 and it gives other Merfolk +1/+1. Very basic. This card, Merfolk Sovereign, says that they get +1/+1 and you can tap it to give target Merfolk unblockable, which is great. So if you don't have Herald of the Secret Streams, you can, Herald of Secret Streams, not of the, you can give something unblockable, which is great. So you can do target your commander, you can target something else. And Marrow Regery is great because when you cast a Merfolk, you may tap or untap. This works really well with Kiora's Follower, the little Kiora's Follower Follow Switch, little bitsy combo here. You know, it's just a cute little thing that you can do, or you can also just tap your opponent's stuff or untap your other things. So, great card. The next card is Marrow Harbinger, which is a Merfolk tutor, which is great. In addition to that, it's also got Island Walk, so it's really cool. So it's cool, you can, you know, have this enter the battlefield, and then you can continue to attack with it, which is great. So this card's awesome. I then run Prime Speaker Zegana. Now, the reality of the situation is, alone, a lot of these Merfolk are, you know, very basic. Like, this card is only just a 2/3. The reason that Prime Speaker Zegana works, though, and is in here is because, you know, some of your things can get out of hand very quickly. They can get very big, especially if you have a lot of your buffs. And you also have Zegana. So, like, if you adapt, you know, you're now drawing 9 cards off of this, which is really cool. So that's, like, the most ideal. It's also one of the most mana-heavy creatures in the deck, which is honestly just fine by me because this card is such a house. But even if I get to draw 4 cards out of this, I'm still extremely happy. Card's great. Oh my gosh, Seafloor Oracle is a house. I love this card. Whenever a Merfolk deals combat damage to a player, you just get to draw a card. A really, really, really good draw engine in the deck. I love this card. This is the only non-Merfolk card in the deck, or creature in the deck. This is a Merfolk support card. This card is called Sea Hunter. Not a lot of people know about this card. It is definitely underutilized, but you get to tutor for target Merfolk, and you put it into play. you read that correctly. You put it into play. You do not have to pay the mana cost on it. You just pay this. This works extremely well from that little combo that we were talking about earlier. So you can do this multiple times if you have mana, which is great. So, yes. Love this card. I run Silvergill Adept, and originally Paul, when we were looking through cards to take out, he was like, I think you should take this card out. And I was like, to be honest with you, this card's just really cute. I also love this promo, and to be honest with you, I'm very attached to this art that I really don't think I could take this card out. You are not going to pay 5 mana for this card. I'm sorry. Yeah, 5 mana for this card. You're not going to do it. You're going to pay the 2, and you're going to get to draw a card. This is a very simple card. It's just kind of a cute little Merfolk support card, but I like it a lot. The next card is Stony Brook Banneret, which, by the way, I haven't really been pointing out the foils in this deck, but like this is one of the easily best and most stunning foils I've ever seen. The fact that this background is literally just a sheet of foil with this beautiful blue color is literally everything. This card is great. It's Merfolk and Wizards. It's just going to be Merfolk. Your only thing like that you're literally not targeting in this is this card because it's a mercenary. And no, as far as I'm aware, they did not Etera this because I know a lot of these older cards they've Etera'd, but this one I do not believe they have. But if I'm incorrect, please let me know. Yeah, so this also has Island Walk, which is great, and Merfolk costs 1 less, which is really cool. So this is a great support card. Oh gosh, when this card got printed, I was so incredibly happy. Like, I saw this card and I was like, this is a card that we just needed, because I feel like Ixalan obviously has done amazing for the Merfolk archetype, but I think it's been really cool to like have other sets that it'll just be like a one-off card or something like that. And I was really excited to see this card being reprinted. So it has Indestructible as long as you control at least 2 other Merfolk, which there's a really solid chance that you are going to have that. Whenever it attacks, you draw a card. And other Merfolk have Ward, which is great. So it has a little bit of effect where it makes your opponents, you know, pay a little bit more for it. This card does a lot of things. I love this card. It's also a 3 mana 3/4, which is not bad. And with your buffs, that can just become bigger. You know, for a minute I considered taking out Talrand, but to be honest with you guys, I actually have a solid amount of instants and sorceries. I have 12 instants and I have 9 sorceries, so a fifth of the deck, you know, is good for targets for Talrand. And you do get Drakes. They're not Merfolk, but he is a Merfolk, which I think is really cool. And yeah, I like it. Good little token synergy. Next, I run Tatiova. Oh, I love this card. Honestly, this is like one of my favorite Merfolk, and I get that it's like 5 mana, but like I love this card, and I think it's so good. So whenever it enters the battlefield, you gain a life, and you also get to draw a card, which is great. You play your lands, you play your little Rampant Growths and your Kodama's Reaches, and you just get more cards and you draw life. I love this card. I think it's so cool. Next card is Thoracios, which this card, if I'm going to be very honest with you guys, I think I'm going to take this card out when a better Merfolk comes along, because I think 4 mana for what this card is just a lot. And I think I'd rather have something else. I don't think this card is bad. I really don't. I know this card is good, but I think there's something else that I'm going to want to put in here in this place. But yeah. Then I have Tashana, one of the most expensive cards in the deck mana-wise. But I love this card because you have no maximum hand size, which is great. So I have 3 effects in this deck where I have no maximum hand size. And it enters the battlefield, you draw a card for each creature you control. So hopefully you've got a couple of creatures out and you get to draw a ton of stuff, which is great. So even drawing like 5 off of this is great. And the last creature in the deck is Vorel of the Whole Clad, because you obviously want to put on those counters and put additional counters on there. And before I forget, I realized that that was a deck, but before I end, I want to say that I know someone is probably going to comment and be like, where's Kumina in this deck? I've actually have not picked up a Kumina in this deck. That has been on my wish list for truthfully so long. I have not picked it up, so it is on my wish list and I need to buy it. So do not worry, the next time I order cards, I will hopefully remember and pick it up. It's been on my wish list, I just keep forgetting to order it, just because I know I will be asked about that card, because that card is good. But guys, that's it for my Merfolk deck. This is just a super fun, it's a very casual, can be super powerful, but might not be. It just kind of is like a more middle of the line game, or middle of the line deck for me, which I just really like, having just a super fair thing. So guys, that was everything for this video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you guys in my next one. Bye.